This review contains minor spoilers concerning mostly characters and scenes, but nothing surprising. If you want my quick review, it's good. Go see it. Episodes 1 through 3 have nothing on this. Star Wars The Force Awakens, by all intents and purposes, looked like it would be unable to live up to the hype that surrounded it for the past decade. I practically live under a rock when it comes to movies, considering the last one I saw in theaters was Guardians of the Galaxy. So when I heard they were going to remake the series, it mostly remained in the back of my mind, especially when J.J. Abrams was assigned to direct it. All I saw on the internet was people pointing to his Star Trek movies and lamenting how Star Wars was going to be ruined in the same fashion. Lens flares, the con scene, haha, very funny. Thankfully, they were wrong. Star Wars The Force Awakens is probably the closest thing I've seen to a remake or homage or whatever other word you want to throw around for I want to do this but try and make it better while still trying to put my own spin on it. It focuses on a stormtrooper named Finn who goes rogue from the new villain army, this time called the First Order, and in his attempts to escape befriends a scavenger named Rey on a rogue planet and a pilot from the new rebellion, Poe. The story takes place 30 years after Episode 6, since the three heroes that saved the galaxy previously have vanished off of the First Order's radar. This is where it begins to get a little more familiar. The First Order has been looking for Luke Skywalker over the past 30 years and intends to destroy him along with the rest of the rebellion. Poe pulls a Leia and hides a piece of a map that leads to Luke inside one of his droids, and it meets up with Rey. Finn then breaks Poe out of the First Order after seeing the atrocities that the Order carry out on a mission to find the map, and they crash land on Rey's planet. From there, it becomes a wild goose chase between Finn's desire to stay away from the Order, Poe's desire to crush the Order, and Rey's desire to buy herself out of slavery. The other half of the movie surrounds the previous cast, who have all appeared en masse. Han, Leia, and Luke are all massive parts of the story, or at least the trilogy, wink wink, and the movie very well integrates the old cast and new cast, though it doesn't feel like a set allotted time was assigned for the old cast so that the older fans feel like they got their money's worth. The story's about the new cast, and Force Awakens differentiates Finn, Poe, and Rey enough to where they aren't carbon copies of the older cast. The movie seems like one big homage to everything that came before it, especially with the numerous trailers with Han and Vader's old mask plastered in every scene. But what I love about The Force Awakens is that I don't feel like my ticket money is focused on just bringing those characters back, slapping them into A New Hope Part 2, and calling it a day. Where the new cast starts and ends could be seen from a mile away, but the journey that surrounds them is what tempted me to fork over the money to see it again. The new cast all perform astoundingly in their roles, especially the new villain, Kylo Ren, who is probably the most well-developed villain that this series has ever introduced. My only quip with the cast lies in the writing, which I feel kneecaps some of the scenes in the story by trying to capture some pivotal comedic scenes from previous movies, but don't have the same amount of charm. The other thing that I feel must be mentioned is that this movie doesn't waste your time much like the prequels did with their Jedi meetings and pod racing and etc., which is impressive for a movie that had to set up a universe while deciding what to change and keep. When the movie isn't tempting the characters towards their destiny or slowly inserting bits of characterization over time, there are numerous dog, lightsaber, and blaster fights, especially when the team infiltrate the new Death Star for the finale. The problem with The Force Awakens is that it's a movie that doesn't sound very subtle when you explain it or say what happens out loud. I'm sure you could list off the numerous things that The Force Awakens copies from A New Hope, but to say that it's a straight ripoff is missing the forest for the trees. It feels like the story is filled with flawed scenes or premises that are patched up with either enough lamp shading or trust in the characters to make the story more dense than it actually is, since it kind of had to take a back seat to let the old cast have their limelight. The movie is definitely not subtle when it comes to the tropes and things that they copy from A New Hope, and it doesn't help reviewers like us when it seems like a lot of the things left in the Star Wars universe felt like good ideas back in the day, but are now just annoying in 2015. Minor spoilers ahead. Those who don't want to hear, skip 30 seconds or click the annotation above or until the picture is gone. Why do the stormtroopers still have terrible aim? Why does the big bad guy that Kylo Ren looks to seem to be more like a copy-paste of Galactus from Guardians of the Galaxy than Palpatine? Why are we given the red herring of Poe's death only for him to show up and wave it away in seconds? Why wasn't Poe decapitated after he gives Kylo Ren a snarky response for the map besides plot armor that rivals even the biggest of asspulls? Is Finn's retreat from the First Order a very unsubtle jab towards the Iraq War and the now universal contempt towards it? Why does the new Boba Fett get nothing to do? And finally, despite the phrase being vastly overused, why does R2 Ex Machina have the map at the end? But does this completely destroy the movie and take me out of it? No, absolutely not. While you could argue that a lot of these choices are probably intentional to push backstories and change in the universe to the other two movies, and it unfairly compares A New Hope when it comes to whether the movie can be self-contained, I'm not as annoyed. They are mere nitpicks among a mountain of good choices that the movie implemented to keep it fun and engaging. At the end of the movie, we don't know much about Finn, Rey, or Poe, but perhaps we didn't need to. Only time will tell. And one more miniature rant, don't see it in 3D. The technology isn't there yet, and I feel 3D is either distracting, gives you a headache, or both. I only saw it in 3D because it was the earliest showing I could get to, and perhaps it says more about my theater when the 2D movie wasn't available until 7 p.m. But I digress. The Force Awakens is a very visceral experience. I could tell by how much the 40-year-old next to me fangasmed when Han Solo showed up. It definitely does a lot of things right, but with the movie's desire to bring back Han, Leia, and Luke while passing the torch to Finn, Rey, Poe, and Kylo, everyone else seems to fall by the wayside. All the other minor characters are plot devices or pieces to have the main characters get what they want, which seems weird considering the story metaphorically relies on 3 common members of the galaxy teaming up to take down an extremist group of named clones, their Hitlerist general, and a villain that for his own purposes is the opposite of the heroes, both in status and a noticeable downgrade from Vader himself in both power and mystique. I will add that this lack of mystique was excellently portrayed, and I consider him one of the best characters among the 4 due to some choice scenes that he got to have. He is what Anakin Skywalker should have been. I'm convinced that The Force Awakens was made to be a visceral experience, considering anything else would have probably disappointed the fans that have waited this long for another movie. It may seem unfair for a movie that was easily one of my favorite Star Wars movies and movies of 2015, but I wouldn't say Star Wars is out of the fields quite yet. With all of the toys that The Force Awakens got to play with, I'm more worried about Episode 8 and whether the movie can carry itself without copying Episode 5, which I'm sure would incite rioting across the globe. This movie is safe, but the good kind of safe. The kind that will make you feel like you're being cheated or could have done better yourself. I don't go to a Star Wars movie to see innovation within filmmaking. What I wanted was some awesome characters, lightsaber fights, and the old people to come back while not being boring, and Episode 7 delivered. Star Wars is back, and I cannot wait for Episode 8. I'd happily give Star Wars The Force Awakens a 9 out of 10. And that's all I got. Thank you very much for watching my review. Make sure to like, leave a comment about what you thought of the movie, and subscribe for more reviews. Let me know if there are other movies that you think I should review, or if there's anything else apart from Pony that you would like me to take a look into. I hope you all have a good day. ABagOVicodin out.